Hello, my friends. How are you today? It is so nice to be here again. Another self-care Sunday, and I get the opportunity to spend a part of it with you. Oh my gosh, I am the luckiest girl ever. It's been just another very peaceful and lovely day. It was great weather outside. I think that always just like fills my soul up. And I know not everybody lives in a part of the world or country that has like lovely weather, although we do pay the price here in California. But like, it was just such a great day. Like, I ended up, it was just a very nurturing day. I did a really long extended meditation this morning. I went through my whole, you know it by now, my normal, for now, routine, and I'm sure I'll be incorporating new and different things as well. But I went through my whole morning routine. And I was, sending extra good vibes to my son, Dylan, because like he was playing in this. So I was telling you, like, here he was. And this was the part, like, I didn't even get to. I was so exhausted last night because I was filming until like 1 a.m. But okay, so like he's been playing. He is the kid that has taken this like ACL injury and like totally turned it into something that a lot of kids and a lot of adults are really like crippled by. And because you lose your sport, you lose like a part of your identity. It is a long journey. Like, we have watched documentaries where, like grown men athletes are out there crying because they understand like how grueling this experience is, physically, emotionally, psychologically, everything. So anyways, he has really done the whole, like, turn the lemon into the lemonade situation. And he has been practicing his craft. He's become so good at it. He had the courage to go out there and connect with other players that he didn't know and was like, hey, would you like to play with me? They had all lost in this particular competition. And he reached out to the other contestants, the other players or whatever, and was like, hey, can we like practice together? And some responded and some didn't. And the ones that did, they've been in here like practicing, and each one of them have made it like further than they were, in the previous like competitions. And so I think that that's so cool that he had the courage to like make new friends. Like, one guy is from Ghana and he just moved to America not too long ago and is in college. Like, when would he have ever had the chance to meet somebody like this? Another one is someplace else in college and like he's playing against them. Like, I just think this is so cool. Like, and hearing about their experiences. So anyways, on to the young man from Ghana. Like, this is the part yesterday that I was like so proud of him, like for so many different things, but about how, he's taking these things. So they're in this competition. So he did this one on Saturday, which was to compete to go to Spain and play, his soccer video game, which is like called EAFC, like out in Spain. And then now this morning, he had been working really hard, for months, because the Spain one, you have 4 opportunities. So the first one, he made the semifinals. The second one is the one that he's now in the finals for. And then there was this one to go to France, but there's only one chance for this one. And so he had been working really hard, like playing with other players, like doing other things, researching. Like, he had worked and prepared really hard for this. And so it happened to be that they coincided. And so originally he was like, okay, well, I have 4 opportunities at the Spain, but I only have 1 shot at France. So I'll just not do the Spain one. And then he had kind of calculated, because he's super smart. Like, he was like, actually, I can do them both. And he figured out a way and he got there. And there was a part that he didn't know, that today there was going to be this like mock interview. He thought it just happened on Monday. And so he was going in to begin his second leg, because he played yesterday France and Spain, and he made it to the top 32 players that were in this competition, which meant he advanced to today. And he was playing against a player who is notably one of the best players out there. And he was completely like just unfocused, because he got a message from the people from the Spain tournament that, you know, they wanted to interview him, and he didn't see this coming. Like, he wasn't like prepared or anything. We kind of like had talked about, like, you know, I had gave him some suggestions, like, just be yourself, like, tell your story, like, your story can stand on its own, like, you know, these kind of things. And we kind of did some like brief things, but we were both like, just focus on France, and then we'll kind of do some like, you know, kind of like run throughs on Sunday evening. And so he gets this thing. I'm not even aware. Like, I'm in the shower. Not that like I make any difference or anything like that, but like, you know, I'm not sending out the good juju to him or anything. And he does his whole thing. And all of a sudden, like, I don't even know, like, I'm calling Chris. All of a sudden, Chris is like, he's in an interview right now. I'm like, what? I thought he was playing for France. And he was like, no, his phone died. Then he used my phone. And it was like this whole story. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So, of course, like, Chris is in there. Well, I'm like, well, if Chris is in there, I'm coming by the door and I'm eavesdropping too then. And so I'm listening, and he did so good. And this was just like the mock one. And he was playing with some like big influencer girl for FIFA, and she loves Real Madrid. Like, I was like, she was so cute too. I was like, oh my gosh, this lady is adorable. And like, I love that she's like a female doing this totally male dominated sport and, you know, commentary. I mean, she was so, I don't know her, but like, I did a little bit of looking into her after, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's absolutely adorable. And he was saying that she currently lives in like Canada, and like, she's super big and all these things. I'm like, that's so cool. So anyways, like, I guess apparently he did really well in his like kind of like mock interview thing. And, you know, at even like a certain point, she's like, oh my God, like, your story's gonna make me cry like right now, like, you know. And that he was saying, and they, you know, they played together, and, you know, there was like some other kind of version of the game. So like, you know, he was like encouraging her like during the game, like, I would have went in, but it deflected off of me and all this stuff. So, you know, I was so proud of him. But he had to make a choice. And like I say, life is all about choices. And in that moment, he had to choose, like, does he continue his, the desire and the dream to go towards this France tournament and let down and put his reputation into the Spain people and not show up like they're wanting him to, and not, you know, do the things that he's being asked of him to do? Or, you know, or does he, you know, like, and say like, oh, I only have one more chance, but I have two more chances at Spain. Like, I can get that back again. But now you're kind of like you know, like this little bit of a tarnished reputation. And, you know, so he made the decision to say he was just not going to proceed in the France tournament. And the player that he had played was not playing really well, and Dylan was doing pretty good, and he ended up going on to win the entire thing. So in theory, right, like, if we had all the ifs, ands, and buts, you know, figured out about it, like, that could have been Dylan who would have won both. But that's okay, because I do think everything happens for a reason. And this young man had, you know, also his own experience where, like, he was on like a big French team, and he had to back out for personal reasons. And, you know, this is going back to France. So it's like, maybe this was always meant for him to be in this. Maybe the Spain situation was always meant for Dylan. Like, you don't lose anything that wasn't meant for you in the first place, like, I believe, or it will come anyways. So I think that was pretty cool. And like, it just further enriched the friendship between those two players. And the other player that ended up, you know, going on to win this whole thing, he ended up like, was one of the first people that Dylan had reached out and was like, hey, do you have any advice? Like, you're a really good player, you know. And he actually was like, maybe, you know, like, and actually gave him some kind of constructive feedback. And so, you know, like, something. And then even at one time, like, somebody had said something about my son, like, on like a social media player, like saying something like he wasn't a good player or something stupid. And this guy like went up, like, stood up for him, like, out of nowhere, just came in and stood up for him. So, you know, like, again, you're gonna stand up for my kid, if you're gonna like behave as if like, you know, like a mother would or a friend would, or, you know, like, you win my heart. Like, if you're protecting my kids, Mama Bear can't be there to do so. Like, you are in with, you know, me. Like, I am like, if anybody else was gonna win it, I'm so glad it was him. So kudos to him. But the whole thing I'm saying all of this to get to was, during that France tournament, one of the players, the one from Ghana, was struggling during a match, and I guess Dylan had sent him like a bunch of words of encouragement, and it ended up like turning it around for him. And then he ended up doing so well that he too was part of the top 32. And then Dylan had got to the top 16, and that's when he was playing. So he had made it to that, even the next round. But again, like I said, the two things conflicted. He either needed to decide, am I going to play or am I going to have this interview? And he went ahead and did the interview. So I think he chose wisely because, again, you only have one opportunity to make a first impression. And, you know, if the France, you know, tournament is meant for him, he'll get it another day, another time. So I think that your honor and who you are mean more than sometimes a win. So, you know, like win or loss, like I absolutely think Dylan absolutely won that. He made great new friends because of it. And I say all that to say, when that young man was struggling, Dylan, he's an 18-year-old kid, but he knew, and he sent him words of encouragement. And then, you know, a couple hours later, as Dylan was playing, you know, he was like, you know, I'm struggling right now. And the guy immediately, you know, wrote him back and was like, everything you said to me, now apply it to you. Like, you've got this, da 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 da. And it was like, it was exactly what Dylan needed. And then came back and like, from a big mate, he was down losing and like went back to like defeat this other person like significantly. So it's like, you know, sometimes like I think we know the answers and it's so readily available. Like when we see somebody else in suffering, when we see somebody else hurting, we know a lot of times the right things to say and do. But when it's ourselves suffering, when we are like in a defeat stage or when we're hurting, it's like we know the answers all along. They're in there. Like Dylan knew those answers. He knew the right things to say. He could say it to somebody else, but he had a challenge in saying it to himself. And just somebody needed to remind him, nothing even new. It was like remind him of his own words and inspiration. And he was like, yeah, you're right, you know, and then was able to come back and, you know, thrive in spite of that, you know, initial struggle. And so, you know, I think that that's one of the interesting things about my own personal journey, that like once I figured out, and like, you know, like I say, there was so many years I spent believing. And then sometimes like as my default right hand, like in that perfect storm moment, I'll be like, nobody loves, and I'm really working hard. Like I was like, I am a recovering, nobody loves me sayer. You know, I have now been on 14 days, you know, of this. But I say all that to say, like, I really did not feel like anybody loved me. Like I really truly didn't. Like it's like I knew mentally like, oh yeah, you know, my grandma loves me. I did feel like love for my children. Like I did feel like they loved me, but like they kind of had no choice. Like they were stuck with me. Like what were they gonna do? Like, you know, it was just, that was it. I was the mom, and you kind of have to love me or you're gonna, you know, it's tough, right? And so I never ever really doubted that my kids loved me. It was more everybody else. And you know, it took until like, you know, I would always hear that like, love yourself. I was like, oh, what am I gonna do? Just sit here like, oh, I love you, Natasha. Like you're so good. I'm like, no, I don't do that. Like that's so weird. And so I just didn't really understand like that whole like concept until like I did, just like, you know, from all those little acts of kindness, all those little doses of self-care, whether it be getting my nails done, a lunch out, a long drive, taking pictures, like doing things I enjoyed, treating myself to something, going to the beach, whatever it may be. Like for me, you know, even the small things, the meditating, the scalp massaging, the dry brushing, like all of that is showing myself love, immense love. And once I began feeling and understanding that love, I got it. Like it completed me. It was just like, it was here all along. Like that love I was seeking externally from my dad, from my mom, from my grandparents, from my husband, from any other boyfriend, from strangers, from friends. it was inside all along. What I needed, what I wanted, exactly the way I needed and exactly the way I wanted was all inside of me. I just didn't know how to tap into it. I didn't know it existed. And like, I remember having like this whole like conversation with Chris, like about like, what does love feel like? Like, I don't know. Like, I know the word and I can say, oh, I love my dad. Oh, I love my kids. Like, and I know like when I talk about like the love with my kids, it's very different than with any other love with anybody else. And, there's like, it's no obligatory, like it's completely like unconditional. There is like nothing that can break that bond. It is so pure and it is so filled with adoration. I just, like I look at them with new eyes every day. Like I cannot believe I am so blessed to get to spend my days with people that are this amazing in my eyes, like that, like do new things that just like blow my mind, like the stuff that Dylan's doing. Like it is so wonderful because like it's the things I preach all the time, and that's why I'm here doing this, because they're like, well, you're talking about this all the time, Mom, but what are you doing, and I had to look around and be like, yeah, you're right, I'm still not doing the things that I want to be doing for me, and I'm still sitting over here afraid to take the chances and having every other reason and excuse as to why I'm not just doing it. And the point is here to do it, and how it ends up at the end, I don't know. Like, I don't know that, but I'm not going to sit here and worry about what it's going to be called, what it's going to be this, how long is it going to be, is it going to be edited or not edited, like, where's this perfect location to film, when's this perfect time to film, what am I going to look like, is my hair done, is my makeup done, am I not going to, like, all these little things about like the small details that have gotten in the way, when the whole point is just what I'm saying. Like, that is my secret sauce. That is my magic. Like, I can do that. Like, and all the other stuff, I'm really not that best at. Like, I'm not great at it. I can get by with some skills. I could learn it if I want, but I just, to be honest, don't care to. And so like, sometimes I wonder, like, do you know what like love is, like, for real? Like, I'm curious, like, do you like I, obviously I'm very clear and honest about the relationship I have with my significant other, and it's been less than ideal. And, I know that there's a piece of me, like, there's a part of me that like grapples with, I know if I made significant changes, I know if I did more of X, Y, and Z, it would substantially change it. It would substantially make it even better. Like, even better. It would make it better. But like it comes a point in time where it was like, but I did that for so long. Like, and it's not just stubbornness. It's more like I'm trying to force something, and like, I can't change him, and the fact that like today he was nice, but on Friday, like I just simply said like, hey, there's these things on the stairs. Like, I ordered the other ones you asked me to order. And it was just like, I'm not doing that today, and I was like, I never had asked you to do that. You were insinuating you wanted me to do it. I'm like, I could care less. It has nothing actually to do with me. It is for the boys. It's for their room. I have no bearing on when or where. I'm just letting you know what you asked me to order, I did. And it was like, well, you ordered the wrong ones. Now everybody's gonna, I'm like, but nobody ever told me like I needed to order separate, like, it was just like, I get he is hurting. I totally understand that. But like, him being mean to me, like, I get that it's a response to it, but it's just like, I'm like, why are we talking to me this way? And I really grapple with like, why it is I sit here and allow somebody to talk to me so poorly. And I don't talk to him that way most times. Sometimes I do, but like, I'm really working hard at not being that kind of person. I'm working really hard to be direct, like, if I want something, I send him a to-do list. Like, please do not forget to do, I need the tax spreadsheet. Like, I need these, like, I will be very specific about the things I want, because I don't want to sit here and have this relationship where I'm, insinuating and waiting and dropping hints and passive aggression. Like, that did not get me anywhere fast. And so I'm really working hard at practicing these newfound skills of communication to be very direct and be very honest and vulnerable about, hey, I'm really struggling in this relationship. Like, I do not feel comfortable when I'm being yelled at. I do not feel safe around you, not like physically safe, but I just don't feel safe when I'm around you because I do not like the way you speak to me. I do not like being, aggressive. I don't like being told I'm saying things that I know I'm not saying. I'm not, like, I will be very clear and honest. Like, yes, I said that. Yes, I did that. Like, there's parts that I'm like, yeah, I did that. I didn't like that. And now I'm going to do some self-reflection so I can have some accountability. I can identify why it was I responded this way and then hopefully get to the end of it. But my relationship with Chris is so attached to all these old parts of me. And so it gets like, I have to double down and do like twice the thinking, twice the effort, like twice the energy to be in his environment. And so to say like, I'm not trying or doing things, like I'm working more hard in that relationship to maintain who I am today, who I want to be tomorrow, than in any other relationship I experience. Like, my kids just accept me for who I am. Was it still with them this kind of, like, I don't really like this because you're not just at my beck and call. You're not just available whenever I need you. You're not just saying yes to everything I need and want from you. You're not willing to just drop everything. And there are times I still do, like today and yesterday, like I I chose to spend, a solid 4 hours talking with him and doing things with him. And that, he was in my room and we were doing things and it all worked out good because thank goodness we had that time together because we kind of like had brainstormed like, about what he wanted to say in his interview. But, it's not to the same level. Like, it's like, there is time for you, but there is also time for me. Like, again, when I first started going to the gym, I was hit with a lot of like pushback, like, well, who's cooking dinner? Well, who's going to pick me up from, like, we're going to figure it out. Like, the solution isn't mom just sacrifices mom. Like, I get it. Like, but we're going to have some compromises here because here are the things that make me happy. And here are the things that are filling my tank. And here are the things that make me feel love. And the more love and the more happiness I feel, the more love and happiness I can share with this world. And so I'm just so excited that time has finally come. And, of course, like there's a part of me that's like, if I would have, the things I would have known when I was younger, like the lessons that Dylan is learning in particular, even my daughter has, but she's just not around as much. So I don't get to like brag on her, like, application of these newfound skills that she has, but like Dylan directly. And because we spend so much time together, because hasn't gone back to school just yet, he's going back, I think it is on the 4th or something like that. But we get this time. So anyways, I say all that to say he did really good in this like mock interview thing today. He then, and so tomorrow he gets to interview with and play a whole like FIFA soccer game. And I say FIFA, it's like called EAFC, whatever. So he gets to play this video soccer game with him, with this Mr. Luca de la Torre. And I'm so excited for him because that's so cool. Like, you get to watch this guy like on TV and know that like you gotta play a game with him, you gotta talk with him, and if all things go well and the stars align, hopefully he will get chosen to go to Spain. If not, he's made some money and had an amazing experience. Like, how cool is that? And he has 2 more chances. So fingers crossed for him that whatever is supposed to happen happens. And that, like, again, I think for him, I always have this soft spot. Like, it's like that whole thing. Like, we love to hear like the underdog story. We love to hear like how someone has like failed and hurt and, had trouble. And then it was down and up and down and up. And then they get the happy ending. And so I so want that happy ending for him. But I know that he's getting it, and that regardless, like, every step and everything he's doing is preparing him for that. And even if this door isn't meant for him, that there are so many more opportunities behind all the other doors that are left open that we just can't see. And so I'm just so grateful to be a part of his little part of like the audience of his journey. And you know, again, like it's Sunday. I had all these plans. Like, I don't know, like I give myself like all these things to do. And like, I like, sometimes it's a lot and I'm working on them. And then there's like so many different things that I get like sensory overload. It's like, okay, I got this. And I love like crossing off things off my to-do list. But sometimes they're like big things and like decisions can sometimes be really hard for me. And so like, I was like, you know, this morning when I was like all alert and awake, I'm like, okay, I need to make final decisions on these things, but they're not just like that easy. And maybe they are, but like for me, they aren't. Like, you know, again, was like, I mean, one that was like, okay, I need to decide what is going on in this relationship. Like, as if I was going to just have this miraculous thing. And maybe one day it will be that easy. But I'm like, I'm just tired of living in this, like, this turmoil and feeling the effects of him living in the turmoil on me. Like, you know, it's hard. Like, and then I see and talk to other people, and I'm not saying the grass is other green on the other side, but like I see two people and they just happen to like, they're both widows, recent or widows within the last couple years. And, you know, they are now with somebody else. And I always think that's such an interesting thing, right? Because both of these people, like, at least on the outward, seemed to adore their significant other. And to see them now having moved on, it's such a strange situation. Like, it's, I'm happy for them. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's just interesting to see, like, you know, how it is. You know, it reminds me of like, you know, like those worries, like, how am I going to love somebody else? Like when I was pregnant with my second one, like, how can I love somebody as much as I love Bradley? Like, you know, like those kind of like things. And I said, like, the love is always in there. There's not like, oh, this is the only amount of love. It's not like a quantitative number, but, or amount. And so I just think it's interesting to see. And I'm so happy because these are both like remarkable women and they deserve to find love again. They deserve to have companionship. You know, their kids are all grown and, you know, I mean, they're beautiful women, and, you know, like if they want to be with somebody else, they should have that thing. But I say all that to say, like, I see that, and I see like they've been seemingly blessed with love twice, like with somebody with people that adore them and they adore back. And, you know, obviously I'm not privy to their inside story and know like what it's like behind closed doors, but I love looking at the fairy tale. I love seeing like, they look so happy. And, you know, like another woman on there, she's, you know, divorced. She was single for a long time and now she's remarried, and, you know, they're off having these adventures, and, you know, like their Facebook is filled with like love-filled things as if they were teenagers again, and they've been together for a while. Like they genuinely look so happy. And it's like, I just want to be with a person, whether it be Chris or somebody else, that like understands who I am and like just is so excited by just the simple things in life and is not interested in, you know, bringing down others. And then the negativity, it just is so, it's so hard. And like being the brunt of someone else's negativity is just a real challenge for me. It's just, it makes me feel so uncomfortable. And like, you know, I just, again, like, if only I had known what I knew now, then, you know, it would be so different. But everything does happen for a reason. And we're here, you know, together. And, you know, we've had this blessing of raising our kids together and getting to be a part of their daily lives, you know, even if it's not been ideal all the time, which I know we both wish it was. And so, yeah, so obviously that's not going to have like an answer today. Like I'm not in that mental space to be like, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's this, but like other little things. And, you know, sometimes I get really like stuck in the decision-making process of it. I mean, I still haven't picked one of the videos to publish because I was like, okay, I don't want to send it on a Friday. Like, you know, I have like strategies. I'm like, okay, I don't want to send it on a Friday because they're not going to watch it on a Friday. And then everything that comes in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is going to be all bombarded at once. It's going to get kind of lost in there. So I was like, okay, I'll send it Monday or Tuesday. And so, you know, I've been kind of delaying, but like, even just to pick which picture of me to send, which video of me, like, it's a big decision. And I think because I care so much about it, like, I want it to be my best, you know, my best like effort in there. And you know, I have that, and I have a few other things that I'm like, okay, I need to finish up like this vision board. I'm almost done. I need to get that done today. So like, that's my goal. I'm taping much earlier. I mean, it's only 8:30, so that's great. You know, again, I'm like kind of brainstorming, like, is an hour a long time to be recording? Like, that's like an hour a day. Yes, I get that. Like, I'm devoting to you guys, but then like, again, I'm like, that's a long time. Do people want to sit there and listen to me for an hour? Like, that's a lot. Like, a TV show is like 45 minutes after you take away the commercials and all that stuff. I was like, and then a lot of people watch sitcoms, like they're looking at 30 minutes. So I'm like, you know, what is the secret sauce? So I might be playing with things this week. I might say, okay, let's try 30 minutes and see how it goes from there. But I don't know, like, I'm just kind of trying to play with things, and, you know, I don't want to run out of things to say either. You know, I want to keep you guys interested, and I have, you know, obviously as many stories as I do days of my life, but, you know, it's like, when are they going to pop up and what's going on? And, you know, there are so many different things that are grabbing at my attention, and I want to make this a priority. And I was like, okay, even if I spend 30 minutes taping and then I use the other 30 minutes to, you know, figure out how to post it, how to do all these other things. Like, I want to be making those kind of progresses as well with you guys, so that we can be on this journey together. And then I can get the feedback and be like, okay, yeah, you know, the sweet spot's 45 minutes. An hour's a little too long. 30 minutes is too short, but 45 minutes, that's just right. And then like, kind of know that, but without having a real anything to bounce this off of. It's like, I'm on this journey alone still at this point, even though you are with me, you're just like on a delayed time frame here. So, I've got a lot of things coming up soon here. Like, again, Dylan's thing is tomorrow. We meet with like the surgeon this week, and, you know, I'll be going to Vegas shortly with my other son, and just like, there's just like, it's getting to the point again where it's like super crazy. So the more things I have released from my to-do list, like, the more freedom I have of mind, of thought, to like really, like, it's like, for me, like, when I have things like running in the background, it's like I'm focused and I'm here, but it's like, oh yeah, don't forget to switch the laundry, don't forget to do this. Like, it's running in the background. And so like, I'm present, but I'm like, I'm not as like immersed in it, because there's like a distraction in the back of my mind telling me what to do that is beyond what we're doing here. And again, the meditation is actually helping me a lot, like, to kind of silence some of those things. The, like, you know, putting in new practices. Like, I have some new things I'm implementing. So like, I'm a big calendar person, and I figured out like old school is good for me. Like, I still have the Google Calendar on my phone. I love it. Like, my kids' doctor's appointments, I could just go into the appointment and go add, you're in there, the address, the phone number, everything is ready to go. However, I really do like something about just an old school calendar printed out. I literally put it on a clipboard that was my uncle's clipboard, and I fill it out every week. And just like the process of writing it again, like, I'm looking at my calendar in my phone, and then I'm writing it out, like, just with the process of like handwriting it, like, really re-emphasizes the importance of it. And so this week, what I'm doing is like, I'm adding on, a new thing on the side, because it's like a legal size. And if you, for all you people out there that don't know legal, right, there's the 8x10 paper, and then back in the day we used to do the legal size paper. But it's like a legal size clipboard. So there's like a little bit of space over here where I can like have a list of to-dos. So like, I have this automatic visual, because I have them like in a pile, and, you know, I have a thing, like, I call it like brain dump, where it's just like everything that's on my mind, little and big, like written out, like, and as it comes. So like, I kind of release it and be like, okay, now I have this visual tool to say, okay, I've got 20 minutes. What can I knock out now? Or what can I, you know, put some time towards? And it was like super helpful. Like, last week I got a bunch of these like big things that I've been procrastinating on. And that's what it is. Like, a lot of it is just procrastination. It's like, I just don't want to deal with it. Like, when things are big, I'm like, I don't know what kind of avoidance and stuff. Like, again, this is going to have to be a whole nother session of self-reflection, but like, I tend to do this, and I know a lot of us do, because I've been like a team manager and a class mom and things like that. And so you give somebody a deadline, like they're the ones that like get it in right away. Okay. So those ones are like done. I want it over with. I want it out of my mind. You get very little in the middle, the scragglers, if anything, in the middle, and then you get another influx at the end. And so it's just very fascinating to see how people respond to like deadlines and things. Like, I mean, I have like silly things. Like, I have a thing here in my thing with like my ballot, to like cast my votes, but I am taking it serious. And like sometimes I used to be like, I think I saw more of this sign, it was like some random local thing, and I felt bad about it. But now that my son's girlfriend as a campaign manager, like I realize like, yes, this is like, that's like a thing, they know, but I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to take this a little bit more, serious for the things I don't know, there isn't too many, but like, I'm like, but I want to get that done. Like there's like little things like that, but then it's like, I have work to do in order to get it done. And like, then there's like big things like, oh my gosh, I do my vision board. I have to have all my visions. Like, what if I don't want this thing, and I have this whole like psychological thing. And I'm like, listen, you pull it off the damn board then. If you don't want that damn thing anymore, and you add something else on, or you just leave it a blank space and cover it up, whatever, it's fine. It's not like it's the end of the world, and it's like, well, what if I don't get all my dreams and everything on there? And it's like, you could just add to it. So like, sometimes I make things a little bit more complicated than they need to be. And then sometimes I find just the right system. Like I say with my, I'm looking over at my jar over there, filled with colorful pieces of Post-its, and I have all my things to be grateful in there. Like, I listen to my body. Like today I was doing some stuff, and before I filmed this, and all of a sudden, like I literally, my eyes were just like, I am so tired right now. And I was like, listen, you just need to go sit on your bed for 5 minutes. And it was like 10 minutes. I laid there again, like not asleep, but not awake. And I just felt like, okay, this is what I need right now. And I did it. And then I felt completely refreshed. Like my mind was alert again. Like, it didn't matter like the piles of things I need to get to. So those things will all get to eventually, the things that are important. Like it's just most important to just listen to yourself and to be kind. Like for me, on another to-do is to like, continue putting all the work in I'm doing for this, like on the back end. And so I'm just trying to get everything done. And when I have so many projects, I just don't want to let this one go. And like, I love how the writing and this kind of flow together, because sometimes like through my writing, it's a little more detailed. Like I say, I am a much better writer in my opinion than even speaker. Like it just comes out better in a way. And and it's like in more detail. So I'm like, I love it because it's like the two can kind of like work hand in hand. And then I still have like running in my background, like, should I do this like dance thing at home? Should I do like this, like, do I want to do this dance, like instructing from home on the YouTube? I'm like, cause it just like, they all kind of flow together, and it's like, they all make sense. It's not like it's different things. And, and I think again, my only hesitation is it's not like it's my absolute favorite style, but it is definitely a style that is of need, like it transcends, like, and other people like really resonate with it. And so I think what I like about it, though, I like it, but it's different, it's not like my full personality in there, it's just a little bit more. But I think it is like great because there isn't a lot of this type of dancing out there that I could find, because I was trying to like do my own homework and research and be like, how do I get better at this? Like, I'd really like to learn and practice this more than once or twice a week, or have the opportunity to practice it. Like if I can't go all the way down to Fremont to do a class, because again, I have to be honest, like if there's all these things I want to do, sometimes sitting in the car for an hour plus a day is not, like, and I do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like 4 times a week. That's at least 4 hours in the car just driving to go do my workouts. That's not even including the workout. So I love it. I'll continue to do it, but I don't know if like at some point I give up one of those days again and be like, okay, I'm going to do it 3 days, giving me 4 days. And, I don't know. Again, it's all a work in progress. So I just kind of see what works for me at that time for that week and kind of go with it. And, I'm really utilizing, like sometimes I've used the hour to like listen to, like I say, audiobooks, or sometimes it's music, and sometimes it's just the sound of my own thoughts. And sometimes it's like, whatever it is, like a conversation with somebody else, if somebody else has come with me. So, I really tried to maximize that time when I can, so it doesn't feel like I'm just sitting in traffic. So I really do love integrating in the audiobooks then. And I think that's a huge reason why I've been able to successfully get through 11 books. Some books are super long too that were in there. I even have in my list like a couple books that I've read a few years ago that I'm like, I feel like now if I would reread them, I would get something different than something I didn't even hear then that like would be very imperative to my life today. And so because I'm such a different person, because like I was saying, I like have this newfound belief that like we are reborn every day. Like every day that we get to wake up again, it's like a new birth. It's a new us, because I'm different than I was yesterday. Like my body is different, my thoughts are a little bit different, like everything is new, everything is possible. And it's just up to us what things that we capture and take on and say, yes, we can do this. So I am really excited to finally get my Big Brother and Survivor applications out there. Again, it's just a thing to do. Like I would love to do it. That's going on my vision board, but if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. And it's not like I'm saying, oh, it's negative or it's not gonna, like, I'm just saying that, but like just me doing it, I feel like even my kids seeing that, it inspires them. Like it inspires me to keep trying. And just because you don't get something the first time, it doesn't mean eventually you won't, or whatever else that is meant to happen happens. Like, like last summer, it wouldn't have worked anyways. I would have never, ever, ever left my son when he was experiencing this. Like never in a gazillion years, not even if they were like, this will be your only chance. And I would have and without regret, I would have been like, it is just not meant for me in the stars then, because I can't. I mean, you see people go on these shows too, and I just think it's so crazy. Like, day one, they're gashing their heads open and, they're falling down, dislocating shoulders. Like, it's just crazy to me how quickly, like how hard you work to get to something and you finally achieve it. And again, this is like kind of like the Dylan, you work so hard, you're finally on the road to achieve it, and then something out of left field happens that is completely out of your control. But in some weird way, it's like meant to be that way. But it's like, this is not how we had planned and hoped it. And that's just kind of been my life. Again, like, going into 1999 as a single woman about to take a trip to Europe of her lifetime, to someone who, suddenly by the end of the year was married and had a premature baby that had heart defects. Like, I just didn't see that coming in any realm of the world, sitting there thinking that like I would be living in a hospital for multiple months with my son and not be able to take him home and have to ask somebody in order for me to pick him up and witness him endure some crazy, like constant, torture, which is supposed to be helping him, of getting shots and getting blood drawn and all. I mean, it's just insane to me. Like, it's insanity, like, to think about, like, like how quickly, like, we have these visions of what our life's going to be. Like I say, even just down to like my wedding, like I had it planned with my Barbies. Like, I knew what my wedding was going to look like. This is what it was. And what it was, I had a $72 dress from Macy's that just happened to be white, and I didn't even have a veil. Like, what? Like, that was like a big part of my vision. I was definitely not pregnant in any of my other visions of, my experience. And there I was, pregnant. And, my anniversary, or my honeymoon, basically, my wedding night was spent at the Tally Ho Motel. Like, No, like that had nothing to do with how I envisioned my life to go. And then that night to like nearly lose the baby and like bleed as much as my mom was bleeding when she freaking, you know, almost did what she did in front of me. Like, this is insane. It was just nuts. Like, my life has been nuts. And so the fact that I can sit here with like a smile and say, like, yeah, it's been hard. And there is like a lot of healing that still needs to happen. But every time I have a moment to reflect, like every time I look at a photo or something, even of me just 2 years ago, when I, even at that point, was like, whoa, like I've made changes, like I am getting this. Like, I watched back this evening, I watched back my initial Big Brother application, and she was so fun. Like, I'm gonna be real, she had a ton of energy. She was like just a life force, but she also was very unconfident. She's like, I'm still trying, you know, like it had these moments of like what I didn't know then that I do now that I could look at. And then last year's was interesting because last year's was more of like what I was saying. It was this gritty girl. It was in your face. Like the first year was like this, like fun, but a little on the timid side, unsure. Like she wanted to believe all the things she was saying, but she didn't really have the proof. She didn't really know. And the irony of it all was the first time I had did a film was on, I think it said it was February, either 22nd or the 23rd. So it was either the day before or the day after that had like that the day my uncle, you know, had the, he ended up having the heart attack and you know, lost all the blood or whatever. And then that was like the last time we talked. So it was either that day, I can't remember, that it was either the 22nd or 23rd. I want to say it was the 22nd, so it would have been the day before. And then I redid it again on March the 10th, which ended up being like 5 days after. And I was really, the reason why that happened was because I was really, he had just passed 5 days before. And it was like, there is no time like the now. Like, life is not promised. Like, it was in my face that like, I am no different than him. Like there is only, you know, like I could have a heart attack tonight. Like I can have, you know, and I know I sound like I dwell on these things like a lot. It's not like that. It's like a, oh crap, I need to get things going because this is coming. I don't know when, I don't know where, and I don't know how, and I don't want to know. But what I do know is every moment I squander between now and then is a waste, right? Like if I'm choosing to just relax because my body needs it and I take a 5-minute, you know, half-assed siesta, like, okay, that's fine. But if I'm sitting here like wasting energy and time doing things like to contribute to being a person I don't want to be, that is not helpful for my journey. And so I did it again. But like I said, that girl, she knew a lot of things, but she didn't have confidence in herself yet. She wasn't sure. Like, she was like, so I didn't, you know, she was a lot more unsure of herself. Then 365 days later or so, she does it again. And this time, again, my whole life force at this point was like, it was grit. It was, I overcame all this. I'm a toughie. I've been through it all. I'm like, you know, like it was a lot more almost like not aggression, but it was like I improving. Like I believed it now at this point, a lot of the self-care stuff, but it was like, it was from one extreme to another. It was like, I was wearing it as a badge of honor, which was great. Like I deserved it. Like I am gritty. I am all those things. But I think I've just now like polished the edges. Like when I looked at the second one, I was like, yeah, she was a little much. Like it was just a little much for me to even watch back. Like, you know, and at that time I was like, perfect, nailed it. You know, I did it in the one take and was like, that's good. I'm ready to go. Like this, love me or hate me as I am. And you know, whatever it is, like, and I think now I'm developing, I think a lot of it has been my itchy nose. No, a lot of it has been the inner child work. I think it's the more inner work. I think, a lot of that aggression from last year came with like because I was doing so many different workouts and things like that, like maybe more testosterone was running in my body or something. Like it was just a lot more like, and I felt very like protective and like, you know, back into this like thing where it was like all those ways in which I protect other people. Like I said, from the time when my kid brother, I should say, my brother, you know, he was being bullied at school. And I remember him telling me about this. And I was like, oh, heck no, not like on my watch. And I knew as a girl 2 years older, there wasn't a whole lot I could do besides tell people who could do something. And so I remember specifically being on the bike racks. And I remember specifically having had seen like the interactions and like how infuriating I was. And I didn't want to embarrass him. And have them be like, oh, your big sister has to come over here. So I was like, I'm going to outsmart these kids. And I ended up going to like my guy friends that weren't even like really that, I mean, we're in elementary school. It's not like we were that close of friends or anything, but I was like, went to them and I was so upset. I'm like, I need you guys to help me. These guys are picking on my younger brother. And they were like, oh, no way, or whatever. I guess they went up to the kids and told them to stop. And from that day on, they never bothered him. I never told my brother that story. But like, it just brought me so much joy to know like he was no longer being picked on by these kids over there. And that like I was in peace because I could look over and see him smiling and not being like attacked by other people. And, you know, I think that like so many times, like, because I do have this like rougher exterior and like I didn't for a long time break in. I didn't break down. I didn't cry. Like I was just tough. I didn't complain. I just kept everything in. I think it was a very like, I think people misunderstood me a lot. Like even so much so like my brother, like I always wanted to help him. It wasn't like, it was never to be like, oh, you're not as smart as I am, or you're struggling. Like I could care less. I just wanted to help him so his life was easier, so that my dad's life was easier, so that our whole life was easier. Like ultimately, I guess it boiled back down to me at some point, because I was like, well, then if everybody's in peace, then I'm in peace, you know? But like, I really do want the best for everybody. Like I do. Like I say, even with this lady in the gym that I was like protective of my instructor who didn't ever ask me to, you know, it was somebody else, you know, like I felt this like, no way, you know, like I feel this like this protection. But then again, I think about it, I'm like, how much have I changed? And so I wasn't even here to experience what the thing is. And B, what if she's changed? Like what if life has changed her? What if whatever was going on in her life made her behave this way? And I don't know her story. All I know who she is who she's showing up today. Now I know a piece of her story because somebody happened to divulge it to me, but it really is none of my business. And if she's a changed person, who am I to judge? Because I know how much I've changed. I know how each person has seen a different person of me, like, you know, or different part of me. Like my friends, right? Like my high school friends, they saw one form of me that was, you know, that way, right? Like all the time. And they probably saw one of the more pure forms of me, just because they were such an open and accepting group. But like the majority still didn't know the full stories of things, and didn't really know my experience because I didn't share it with them. Like I didn't want to talk about it. And I just wanted to have a good time. I just wanted to like, you know, push it away. And I think with like, you know, my siblings and things like that, I think there's like this persona that, you know, because like I was always like doing things and helping everybody and seemed fine on the outside, that like I just had this like gritty, tough exterior. And I think there is a time and a place for it. But I do also think that like in some ways, like it has to be balanced out. Like it, in some ways it is, you know, not, it's like a misconception. And so I think when I looked back at that second video, I was like, wow, you know, it was as if she was like very protective of now herself. It was like from going from being the bully to herself. Like I used to bully myself all the time, I say, to like now being this like fierce protector. Like nobody's going to bully her. Not even me, like not on my watch. Like I'm not taking anything. Like I've had to go through this. You can go through it too. If I could survive all this, you can. And it was just like, ugh. you know, like it was a very, and it's not bad. Like it wasn't anything, but like it, to me, I was like, okay, it was, I've changed a lot more in those 365 days, and I am grateful for it. That's all I can say, is that like in hindsight, I can look back and say, wow, I can see where she was coming from. Like I know why. I know the why. I was the why. And I love that I have become softer, but I can still pull out that grit. She's still there. It's still there. Like if something is worthy of protecting in this aggressive manner, I can do it. Like I said, it was proven the other day, but I think that softness shows that like the minute I did that, and I'm like, I don't have to, like, you know, the minute that I walk into a room, like, again, it's almost like if I know Chris is in the room, I now don't have to have this like defensive, gritty kind of thing. It's almost as like I take my, you know, it was so funny last night at dinner. Karina and her boyfriend decided to come over and cook dinner. I was so happy about it because it was like something I really would like. It was like spaghetti, but it was like he was cooking it, and we love this like garlic bread that used to be at this place called the Fish Market in San Mateo and Palo Alto, but they all closed. And so I like called like 10 of them, got the different recipes, and like we made our own out of it. And so they'll make it, and I love it because it tastes just like this garlic bread that like I grew up on. And Chris can't stand because there's like mayo in it, and like it's like a major turn off like when the mayo comes out, like if it's not spread properly or whatever. I don't care whatever way it is, it's just so darn good for me. Anyways, they were making that, and we were talking, and I was talking to them about the daily dose of dysregulation. And so like as I was like talking to them about it, like Dylan, I guess I've said it so many times that Dylan's like, he's now says it at the same time, and they're like, oh, I guess you've heard this story, Dylan, you know, like joking around because, you know, he is around me, so he gets to hear all my stories, you know, firsthand. My day one, so he'll come up, he's like, it's day one, you know, and I'm like, stop it, you know, like he knows. But like it's nice to get the, like, it's almost like it wasn't a chip on the shoulder. It just was like, again, this other form of armor. And it was just, it still wasn't me. And so now that I'm adapting and flowing into this gentler version of me, I think it's very beautiful. I think that it is something that I feel more comfortable. Like I don't feel defensive. I don't feel like I need to prove anything to anyone. Like I felt that before. Like I felt like I needed to defend my position. I needed to explain who I was and why I was, and even in order to even understand myself. And I'm still doing that now, but not having this urge to like overprotect and have it come off as like this, you know, rough and tough person. And I do all, you know, like is definitely a different experience. So I am so pleased to see how in the last 700 plus days I have transformed. I'm still the same, but I'm different. And so that's where I say, like, each day I'm reborn. I'm so different than I was 700 days ago. And I'm so different than I was 365 days ago. I am changing every day. And I hope that 365 days from now, I continue to change and learn and grow and acquire more knowledge and acquire more peace and balance within my own life, and that I can teach others and share that knowledge. Like it's not just going to end here with me. Like what fun is that? What good is that? Okay, good. I have all the goodies and the knowledge and the wisdom. Let me just hold and hoard it here. Like, no, I don't. I'm going to share it with others, because if we all continue to share with each other, like inevitably it's just all coming back. So there's never going to be a lack. Like just continue to give and share what we can with others, and especially kindness, especially like inspiration, especially motivation, especially our stories. Like I think they're beautiful. I think that there's so many, you know, tales in there that are worth learning. I mean, everybody's stories. Like if I hear anything, I think it's just the most fascinating thing. Like when my daughter tells me a story, she was just telling me how she has, amongst her graduating class at Cal this year, is a mother and daughter duo. And the mother moved here from Texas as a single mom, and, you know, started a preschool, and, you know, was smart enough, like before had been finding out that there was potentially going to be a pandemic, and had like created these contracts, and everybody's like, oh yeah, sure, we'll sign the contracts, you'll still, you know, get paid and all these things. Like and they're like, how would you have known? And she was just like, I don't know. And like she took the initiative to do that, and really became conscious about the environment and all these things. Like, just hearing her story, I was like blown away. I was like, that is amazing. Again, this is one of those stories, and there's a lot of people at Berkeley. Like, I love hearing their stories. They're different, right? Like, it's a whole different kind of crew. But from what my kids are telling me from these stories, I was like, almost every single one of them at the end, I was like, and so remember this, when you say I can't, if somebody with this much against them could, then you can too. I mean, you're just choosing not to at the end of the day. And I'm guilty. Like, there's a lot of things that like I'm choosing not, that I could do, but I'm just saying can't isn't one of them. Like, that's why always when they were little, I was like, that is a bad word. You cannot say that word. You can't say can't. This is a bad word. And so I say all that to say we're at the hour mark. And so that means I'm going to go. I'm going to keep it there. Again, I might be changing it, and, you know, I'd love the feedback, and I hope that you guys have a great day. And if there's something that, you know, you can go out there and spread some joy, give somebody a smile, a compliment, and just watch them glow up, I would appreciate that. So thank you so much. Bye.